All right, the time has come. The time has come indeed to speak of many things. So, I'm not going to go too in depth just because there's not a lot of people here. Um, and this is more of an impromptu meeting than compared to our normal Sunday meetings. Let's see here. With all that said, though, I know since JT is not here and they wanted to get some things noted down, I'll just go through those topics first. Um, Quick reminder for the team, which includes myself. Um, we have a Trello board. People use it, and by people I mean pretty much JT and Laddersmith from the looks of it. Uh, if you're working on stuff, please use it. Please use it. If you assign things, please use it. That includes myself. I forget it exists sometimes. Yeah, I believe it's pinned in a couple locations, but it's definitely pinned in Economy Team because that's where they use the most. But I'll make sure it's posted elsewhere too.
Is it the same one we were using like 2 years ago or whatever?
Pretty sure it was the one that we were using for launch. Yeah.
Okay, I might have still have access or password for that. I gotta figure that out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see here. Um, if you guys notice any issues with the World Anvil, the like, the World Anvil team, which is listed on World Anvil itself, just let them know there is the channel there for World Anvil feedback. You can also ping me in that channel. That's a proper place for it. You don't have to be part of the team to do these things, so just if there's something you notice, let them know. Um, that's pretty much what number 2 is saying, from the looks of it. In terms of recruiting, I've instructed people to start recruiting for a bit now. Seems other tasks are becoming more hectic for them, so I'll probably be posting those myself. Unless someone wants to volunteer, I can send you guys the info for the email and uh, basically the sign info for that. But we do need to get more recruitment. I know for the current setup, we do have people in training, though we don't have a lot of trainers. So if people would like to help out with that, that'd be greatly appreciated. Just so we can get people on board, so we can ease up the burden on everyone else because we are limited. Speaking of limitations, we also have some DMs training as well as staff, but again, low on recruitment, low on people who are training. So if we can get help there as well, that'd be appreciated. In terms of that, we'll likely be doing another cleaning of house soon, going through everyone who's been helping out, everyone who's doing staff, seeing if they're still on board. And if people do say yes, but don't do anything within the next 2 weeks or so after we do this question, just, dropping things because I would like to have accurate numbers to see what we're working with. Because we have had a lower amount of games being run than should be expected. Let's see here. For number 4, I mean, if someone's getting me the questions are yet unanswered in there, so I have just a docket list of things that could be posted in question form. Excellent. Definitely should not be deleted. Should be archived at most. Just because there are still questions in there that have been answered that needs to be reviewable. So we can put that down as official answers in our errata. But it has been a bit since I looked at it. I still do intend to look at it. It's just school and whatnot, and equipment guide focus, and all these other things. It's a lot. So, you know. But if people want to change it around, make it so it's clear that it's not a actively used thing, that's fine. All right. Outside of that, though, we have a whole ton of stuff for Sunday meetings and the stuff for Sunday's meetings channel. Um, but before I get to that stuff, in terms of the equipment guide, I've been doing some good work over last week when I was covering someone's 3 shifts of the week, just slamming out updates to it. Um, the updates have got me to a point where, with the team noting things down for me, there's a few minor changes I need to do, but the crafting guide section of it is looking pretty good. And once that's done, everything else can be slapped down pretty quick because we're getting things placed on the Google form, or not Google form, Google Sheet, so people can do the shopping, quick purchases, and whatnot that we were discussing. All right. Let's see. There's probably a lot of stuff I'm forgetting because I just woke up. Um, but it's fine because those are for Sundays mostly. Pretty sure a lot of them are online for Sundays, so we have a large group of people here. Let's see here for the channel though. Unless there's anything I would like to bring up while this page loads because it's currently frozen. There we go. The invite for the Trello is in the stuff for Sundays meetings. It's not a link that people can copy paste, so that's good. I don't have to edit this video. Tells you about it, tells you how to do. It's posted there by Laddersmith, so we'll make sure to copy that link and post it into Council General as well. So it's in multiple locations, but that's there. If you're in balance team, cleric still needs to be looked at heavily. I've gone over it a couple times. I know there's new posts in it since then that I've yet to read, but it is high on the priority. Encounter tables, if you can work on encounter tables for your region, if you're a region head, hello Sithams, welcome, perfect timing. That'd be appreciated. The current version in there is mostly just a generic listings of here's an encounter that would be appropriate for the region. Here is a higher tier encounter appropriate for the region. Here is a hazard. Here is a diplomatic encounter. You know, basic like core themes that go into more detail based upon what region you're in. But it could use more looking at. Generally, once I'm done with the focus on the guide and these other things that need to be worked on, I'll probably be working on not regional, but terrain-based encounter tables. So, like, if someone's traveling in the Ember Smoke Mountains, then they would have a table for that to be used, rather than just having to be like, what's normally in these regions, staff head? And I'm like, here you go. Or, you know, going based off of what the World Anvil says or based off of what our region lore channels say. Because we do have some notes there too. But, you know, getting it centralized would be nice. Pit fighting definitely needs to be reworked. It is currently on hold for any submissions for it due to the fact that it is not intended for people to be able to use resources that can dramatically adjust their abilities in it, because it is a downtime feature, not a active feature. So it needs to be looked at, needs to be posted, those hot fixed, so people don't just start making 18,000 gold right off the bat because they can somehow get their bonuses to like 50 when that's not intended for a downtime. There's a whole discussion in that regard in the balance channel, I believe. Yeah, it's right there. I have not fully read through it, but again, I've looked at it. I haven't read through the most recent posts. Things to discuss, things to note down. So if you are part of balance, go on in there, start helping out, discussing things. I'll probably be doing that tonight because I will be working tonight. So we'll be able to start going through more detailed stuffs at that point. Um, let's see here. For researching spell changes, um, Laddersmith would like help for this. I did assign it to them, but the number crunches and whatnot, they're not on balance team themselves. They're just my World Anvil helper. So I was like, go do the thing, Julie. Um, if you are good with numbers, that'd be appreciated. Otherwise, I'll probably be looking at this tonight just to make sure the numbers look good. No one's pinged me in the channel for the researching spell changes thread, so I haven't looked at it yet. But for full clarity, the exit and enter keywords with the brackets are required, as best one can do. If you forget, it's fine, but it is something that we specifically use as a search function. So if you type in exit without the brackets, it's not really going to give us what we're looking for to let us know that, hey, you entered or exited a channel. So for the community, do try your best to use that. Those are important. Anything with brackets will be keywords for us. So we're talking about benefits we allow to be used in downtime. If it is a stamina feature, it's probably going to be disallowed for downtime. However, Silver Tongue was made with downtime in mind, as all the Guile feats are made with downtime in mind, or at least many of them will be. So for that one, it's probably going to be reworked a little bit, where if you're using it for downtime, stamina is going to become an exhausted resource for one. That's just going to happen. If, used in downtime or appropriate RP actions as deemed fit by staff. But two, the cost for it is probably going to be increasing for downtime usage, because that's assuming it's a one and done. But downtime is a multiple period thing, so it might be increasing to like a 5 or something like that for downtime uses, which would just be you can spend a point of stamina to increase the degree of success by 1 step. Period. If used for downtime, the stamina cost increases to 5 points. Something like that. Just, a quick little addendum to each bullet point that would be workable for downtime. It would also add, and stamina becomes an exhaustive resource when used in this way. Just quick little nips like that. So just to change the terminology in the world. This keeps coming up. Are people? How are people feeling about these terminology changes? It's 15 on the stuff for Sunday meetings. Because there is still confusion regarding these, so people are wanting to change harvest score to harvest range, or harvest range score. With the current wording being harvest tier, so it'd be like range 1, levels 1 to, or tier, a bonus of 1 to 4, range 2, bonuses 5 to 8, range 3, bonuses 9 to 12, and so on. Or harvest size score. Personally, I prefer range score because it makes more sense than size, but
I can certainly understand why people get confused with all the use of tier and rank or whatever, in use. So I don't think a change is a bad thing. I don't know which I prefer, honestly.
Yeah,
fair
pretty
enough.
much same thing.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
The other recommended option was size?
Yeah, harvest range score or harvest size score were the recommended options.
Oh, range is way better.
Yeah. I was thinking range too, because it's how much you gather is what your
As opposed
harvest tier set.
as opposed to like, yeah, how big it is or something.
Yeah. I mean, it could be considered like how big of a cluster you're harvesting, which is technically how much you harvest, the amount you harvest. So I can see where they're coming from, but range just sounds, it rolls off the tongue better. Similar thing with tier of play and world tier. They're suggesting changing world tier to world phase. I think that's fine for now, but we are intending to have multiple phases of this, wherein um, we go from like, here's the main story that we're doing, like this general feel for the world that we're happening right now, and then the next phase will trigger a large time jump passes, new stuff happens. That can be considered world acts or uh, something like that. So there is different words we can use for those, but the current terminology for that we've been using would be has been phase. So if someone wants to keep that as phase, the suggested change to phase, keep it as world tier, because tier play and world tier are pretty similar. Though it looks like their suggestions are to keep crafting and enchantment and quality tiers using the word tier. So like economy side of things using tier for the most part, while keeping the levels of play to different words. So any
I think
thoughts
the
on those?
levels of play makes a little more sense to keep to tiers, and then everything else changes to either match that or be something different. Because tiers in general is most of the time regarded with playing.
Yeah. So I think for that one, you would be suggesting tier play remains tier play, roll tier remains roll tier, um, level of play remains level of play, and then like um, thinking of
Anything involving like levels should remain tier.
yeah.
Anything involving crafting should be like a quality or something like that.
So like rank 1,
Yeah,
material, rank 2 material.
yeah, or just like I imagine there's like a bajillion different qualities in there already, and that would be more confusing.
Well, the current system for qualities and enchantments is that they are tier 1 quality, tier 2 quality, tier 3 quality. They have names, so it's like tier 1 fine, tier 2 excellent, tier 3 exceptional for qualities. While enchantments are uh, tier 1 mundane, tier 2 poor. In the update, that is. Right now it's tier 0 mundane, tier 1 poor. Um, tier 2 going with the current version, following uh, tier 2 fine, tier 3 excellent, and so on. So they use the tier word keyword here for crafting.
In terms of simplicity, if we have to change it, it would make sense to change it to tier in terms of long term how terminology is used in D&D. I think it would probably be better to change all the crafting side to be like quality 1, quality 2, quality 3, and then they can have their own individual terms based on like that are already listed, like
Yeah.
fine or mundane, and then you can just change the abbreviation to Q1 or whatever.
So you're suggesting Q1 fine, Q2 excellent for quality and so on, and then for rarity you'd be suggesting rarity 1, rarity 2 with
Yeah,
the
pretty
name
much.
qualifier as well. I think that works. It has the name of the source itself in it, so I think that's fine.
I also think generally, if you're going to use like the same term to refer to something, like in this case, we had tier 1 materials, for instance, that should correlate to the other uses of tier. So I think there was a lot of confusion in like, oh, we've got tier 3 materials, but you can access them at tier 1 of play, and I understand the confusion there. So if you're going to use the same terminology, they should correlate in some way. So tier 1 materials are available in tier 1, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that. The main reason they were marked as like tier 1 material, tier 2 material, even though you can use up to tier 3 in the current world tier, um, is due to coding language. If I were to add these to like a to an Excel sheet as an example, and I marked world tier plus, or sorry, quality tier plus level tier equals X, I could just grab the number tied to that tier, which is why I thought like just everything tier blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
But,
I
but
can understand that.
yeah, I can see the name change. I think for material specifically, since they are listed as tiers as well, I can just use material 1, material 2, material 3 as per Alpha's suggestion there. But if they were to use the same listing so they stick with the level of play, it would need to start out at like 0 or -1, 0, 1 or something like that, because there is a difference between levels tiers 1 and 2 of materials. Not a lot of difference, but there is a difference.
Yeah, I mean, changing them to whatever is fine. I just more let and if you're going to use the same terminology, just to keep it correlated in some way. That's all.
Yeah, yeah. But it's an easy update for me for all these terms and for the Living World Anvils team, just because we can just pop on there and do the edits. As soon as these are done, though, we're going to want to post a patch notes for it, as well as an announcement indicating these changes. Let's see here. So for purposes of for meeting tracking, just going through the mic cancel chat because I see it's getting some pop off right now. For what we've gone through, most of which was the initial postings by Fritz, the 1 through 4. We went through all those. Just a quick, here's my thoughts. People could use some help. Since you are heading training, one of the things that we were talking about there, training needs help. We need our people trained sooner than later. The current system is not as focused on getting us staff as I would like, or the team would like, I imagine. So if you need help, recruit. Recruit other staff members to help you with training. I want people to be good to go, good to help us soon. Not like, I know people have been in there for a couple months. Basically, if they're interested in helping, focus up, get them trained on a regular basis rather than, hey, you have like a month to do this. So, many people have contacted myself and other members of staff asking, hey, how's my training going? Where's it at? Which is a bad sign for training. So, yeah. But I know we have a lot of people who are just wanting to help with downtime, as an example. People are just signing on to just do downtime for us, which is a huge thing that we need help with. So that's a note. But yeah, people go to Legacy to help with training and all that good stuff. In terms of recruitment, that's another thing that we are desperately needing to work on. People I assigned to that have not completed it just yet, so I'm going to be posting some things on Reddit and the like as well. If you know anyone in Legacy you can assign this to, feel free to shoot them this stuff. But yeah, basically that. A big thing missing the list that Fritz posted, the 1 through 4s, I'm going over one of them right now with Legacy to catch them up to speed. That's just scrolling up a little bit in chat if you want to read what those 1 through 4s are. And I was going through the stuff from Sunday meetings as well. I was currently talking on 15 because we scroll through, 15 topics already at this point. Which the 15 is the terminology changes, which the current idea is to change things, keeping world tier play at the same, but adjusting everything else, as tier is more synonymous with level and whatnot, character level and the like. So changing quality tier, changing rarity tier to be their own terms, and so on and so forth. The last little section there before I go back to reading Nomite Council. Adventure and Civilian become PC and RPC, standing for role-playing character. Since we are allowing people to go different classes, I think that's an easy clap change. We just need to go onto World Anvil and make these adjustments clear and make sure, I know the suggestion for this, and make sure that everyone knows what RPCs and PCs can do. The change that we discussed, I believe, last meeting, so 2 weeks ago, civilians are, I can't think of how to are transitioning, that's the word for it, transitioning into the ability to play as full classes without the benefits of the civilian class. And I'm adjusting the civilian class to be more of a viable option. Yeah, so they can play as any class. They just won't have the huge downtime benefits that they would normally get. And the main difference is that we're still keeping their intended role in the world, which is to role play. It's just to avoid the confusion because civilian is a class that they were previously only allowed to play as. It's now being changed to they can play as any class. So if we kept them as known as adventurers versus civilians, I can just change the class name, but because I do like the term adventurer versus civilian, but the issue is it would add confusion if we just change them being able to play any class, but still keep them called as civilians. And since most of this section for 15 is fixing terminology, kind of goes hand in hand to make sure to change the names. If someone has a suggestion that rolls with the tongue better than PC or PC, I am 100% for it.
I think PC and RPC are good, but I do have a question about this certain avenue, since we're going to be allowing them to be taking normal adventure classes.
Shoot.
It comes into them being allowed into games and whatnot. Like economy focused civ classes would be fine, maybe, but with RPCs in there with adventure classes, probably a last resort? Or just outright deny them?
In terms of them joining into missions as a civilian slot, or in this case, a role playing character slot.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would depend on their role, because a lot of the civilian slots will be, hey, I need a merchant to act as a caravan that the players need to guard. So they would only allow people who have merchants, what we could do for that would be anyone who has the merchant background, so the profession merchant, or anyone who has the entrepreneur subclass of civilian. That's a way to limit it. If we say I just need a civilian in general, that could work too, which would allow for any adventuring class civilian to work, or role playing character. It's going to take me a bit to get used to this name change. But I don't think outright denying them. I think going to more specifics of what the slot can be used for would be better. It does definitely feel numbery to me as well, which is why I'm like, if you guys have any other suggestions for name, I'm all for it. I know it's a terminology that we use normally for like player characters, PC, but every civilian is a player character, which is why I used adventurer and civilian originally as the terms. I could see supporters. Supporters could work.
If you call them supporters, I don't know. If I see someone with their own supporter, I'm just gonna think, oh, they're paying to a Patreon or something.
That's true. We also have the Patreon tag, um, and people will be probably getting that at some point in the near-ish future. So, fair, fair.
I think keeping it civilian should be fine, to be honest, because it does distinct them that they are not full-on adventurers. Their capabilities is up to them and whatever they take.
Yeah. I think sticking with adventure civilian and just changing the name of the class from civilian to something else would be easiest. Or maybe, well, the issue with artisan is that the civilian class has more than just artisans, because entrepreneur is taken from artisan and merchants into one class, which is why it's just called entrepreneur instead of artisan or merchant. I would have used those names. Citizen, I think, works pretty good. Yeah.
You could call the specific like entrepreneur and whatever specialist because they're either specializing in economy and researching, or I guess guarding. Guarding is the only one that's iffy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your laborer is good.
Yeah, I think sticking with adventure civilian and then just changing the class name to be citizen.
Yeah, like keeping the role civilian definitely helps because
Everyone's used to it at this point.
that and there's a whole lot of references to civilian on
It's
World
been a
Dreadful.
lot of updating for Loudersmith and the team.
Yeah.
So the only thing with citizen changing the class name would be going through every character sheet and updating it there for anyone who is a civilian currently, to be changed to citizen. And then updating the master character sheet to say citizen too. That's not too bad because we don't have a massive number of citizens, but it is notable. Yeah.
And obviously, this would let people that are currently civilians decide whether or not they want to keep that class or take adventurer levels.
hmm
So, technically speaking, they're going to have to go in and change their thing anyway. So, really, we just have to update the master sheet, I think.
All right.
They could just
Reading
have
your
free
post
thing.
legacy. The process that's slowing it down is onboarding. Why do you think onboarding is causing it to be such a slowdown? And is there ways that we can fix this? Because we're at the point for training where I'm probably going to shelf my focus on the equipment guide and start training people. It's become an issue. In terms of current civilians, we are going to be allowing respecs, yes. Any major overhauls like this, they're good to be trained, no issue. Um, Many of the refs on World Anvil are towards the role, not the class. All of them are towards the class, but the class is tied to civilians as a role. So it's if you're playing a civilian, you're playing as a civilian class, or to be changed to citizen class. I think we can still use the terms PC versus RPC just fine, or something like that, because I mean they are role-playing characters first and foremost. But as people were saying, it does feel gamey. It feels more like an acronym than what is intended. It also it's just terminologies and feels really, nothing major, but yeah.
It's mostly just changing it from something that kind of makes sense in world to something that only makes sense out of world, especially with something as in character depth as D&D tends to make it feel like it's not like humanizing for a character or a person really, because you're at that point you're just a number on a stat sheet.
Mhm.
Aren't we all just statistics?
Yeah,
See, yes, but typically we use adventurer more than PC.
yeah. Also, PC should be the term we use for any character because it is player character,
Agree.
Yeah,
not just
there shouldn't be a
civilians.
distinction between people that adventure and people that don't.
Yeah,
Is the thing.
which is why I tend to use adventurer versus civilian for that terminology. But if we change the name of the class to citizen, I can still use the terminology that I'm used to, and we're all good.
And no one can possibly have any ground to stand on complaining about us making, despite the fact that we're now allowing them to take uh, regular adventuring levels, that we're separating the two more than we already are because they're still PCs. There's no distinction.
Mhm. Yeah, no, definitely change. If you know where those are, let World Anvil people know so they can change it, or I can change it. I would like to normally get away from the PC terminology, as that pushes the two people away from each other even further, and we've had issues with people thinking, oh, the civilians, they're not players. Everyone's a player character here. Civilian, adventurer, regardless, they're players. And if we use those terminologies, it's going to make them feel less than. Especially if we use the original session of PC rather than APC.
Well, yeah, RPC does sound close to NPC, so
Yeah,
we want to try to avoid that.
they both do, but NPC also does, and NPCs are non-player characters.
Yeah.
It's it is definitely a viewing issue, a lens of sorts.
It's just easier to try to move away from PC in
Yeah,
general
yeah,
than it is to try to explain to people how this works and then have someone who was never here to begin with show up like 6 months down the road and then flip shit because, well, they're a civilian, but now they're just an RPC. What the fuck? You know?
mhm, Yeah, early on were called NPCs, which is not the intention for them. But yeah, well, Legacy types up their training stuff that they've been going over, and their response to what we've just discussed. Um, any other notes on this? I mean, I can see guild hand. It's just I prefer one word terminology for our people, unless you're talking about for the class.
That, and it's easier to use one word titles than it is to have people remember multiple word ones.
Yeah.
So
I have a suggestion if we want to move away from civilian as a role. Change adventure to sword and civilian to shield, because the Seekers Guild, the civilian rank is shield and the adventurer rank is sword.
Don't mind me when I go out to World Navo right quick.
They
technically,
can
there's not.
join.
No. Well, that's the thing. There's no. To my knowledge, there's no actual way listed on World Anvil for a civilian to join the Seekers Guild, because
They
and
just
Seekers.
join.
So, like with players, if you're a character, you're
Yeah,
just that
civilians are
rank.
not allowed entry. Yeah, it straight up says it's that's. Oh my lord! But civilians can go on missions. Is the thing. There, certain missions have slots for them to go on.
So, for civilians, if you read the rest of that sentence, it says something it's not for the wider range of benefits. Instead, they can join up as an initiate, marking them as persons of interest to the guild and its members, but otherwise granting no other boons or benefits. Hence why you'll see in the rank structure, Shield does list them as initiates, civilians in parentheses. Yeah. I do think that could work. But again, this goes into if you don't have to change the terminology that we're all used to at this point, adventurer civilian, I'd prefer not to.
It's easier for everyone involved if we make small changes rather than large ones, even if those changes have larger effects.
Yeah. It definitely works though, because those terms are used in the guild. However, this goes into another discussion that we're going to be getting to in a moment in terms of factions, which I'll leave for that portion of it. But the big thing here is that it's potential that the guild might not be the only option for people to remain as players. We'll get to that in a bit, though. Yeah, civilians cannot go on missions unless they are joining a civilian slot. That can be a civilian that has a adventuring class, a core class as we'll call them, or as the citizen class. Either which way, unless the civilian slot specifically has restrictions, as previously mentioned, such as only entrepreneurs civilians can join this slot. Because they're more as a dedicated coconut clapping guy in the background, or like story based. That's what the slots are for. And yes, every static is intended to have the option of a civilian slot. As someone who's like a dedicated researcher for the party, or someone who is the camp's cook, the camp's smith, or so on and so forth. They may not be in every session, but they are focused for them, yes.
It could be a merchant then. looks for specific stuff for them to buy.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Like a contact with them from the guild that is like, hey, I got the good deets on that item you're looking for. Yeah. Renaming classes is pretty impactful, but if we keep it similar, which is why I like Citizen so much, it's pretty similar to Civilian, that it's not going to be too hard of an adjustment. But it does need to be adjusted because we're allowing them to take adventuring levels. So the easiest way would be to change one term rather than 2 terms. Because if we change adventurer and civilian to PC and RPC or some other terminology there, compared to just changing the class. Changing the class changes it for like 40 people or so, 50 people, something like that. We actually might be 70 civilians at this point. It's been a bit since I looked at the player count. No. The first level feature for civilian or renamed to citizen would need to be adjusted. It would need to say that, or honestly, I can just add into the top multi-classing. Cannot multi-class. Something like that.
Honestly, the class itself was probably going to be overhauled in a similar manner anyway, just because it's always been a whip. So
yeah, I mean, I still need to update it up to 5th level at this point because we are likely going to be 5th level civilians soon.
yeah, I think there's a couple that are level 4.
Yeah, fortunately, level 4 is just ASI, so I don't have to worry about that. But yeah.
Let me just check.
Well, I'm
The
pretty
main-
sure it's there because we don't want adventures taking it.
Well, that's the thing is I've been updating it so it can be a viable option. Not super viable because you still have a D4 hit dice, but possible. The main reason why I don't want it multi-classable though is because civilian as a class itself does have features that say, hey, choose any other class, you get its feature. And that can get really funky when, say, someone is like a rogue 1 and then, or like a rogue 2 and then a civilian 5, and all their civilian features are tied to rogue class features, and they just like double dip. It's like, I have sneak attack 1, I have sneak attack 1 again. It just saves us from this issue.
Actually, really, a really quick check in character update. It looks like the highest level civilian is 3 as of 4 days ago.
That's easy.
I mean, stacking first level things like that, I still don't really see. I feel like the most like abusable thing to do with that is taking different cleric first level abilities. If you're spending a whole level to get another 2 spells available, thinking, is that worth it? Because then it just might be something that's extra fun in terms of building.
It's fair. It's
You
fair.
can have 4 domains instead of 2.
As something that could happen, yeah.
Cleric.
I love cleric.
Cleric is definitely something else.
Yeah.
It's so fun, guys. You should
Unchained
be all
cleric,
clerics.
it probably needs to be nerfed more.
Cleric definitely
Yeah,
needs to be nerfed. It's
probably.
on the docket to
Probably.
be adjusted. It's not a high priority for me, but I know it's a high priority for the team. So there's a whole balanced discussion on it.
There's like 3 of them.
Oh
No.
yeah, there are like 3 of them.
Yeah, one of them is also on specifically empowered channeling.
Oh, look, there you go.
Right.
Didn't I update that
Which-
when you guys suggested it?
No.
No, I thought I did.
There's
I do
also
remember
one
seeing
about
something
a spell.
about charges changing.
Did it get updated?
I think it did.
The stamina cost for one was updated because it was
Ah.
too little.
Yeah. After that one fateful night in Blackheart's game where you discovered how fucking bonkers it is.
Is that for the Trello, Jokey?
That's for the Trello, yes.
And that's the one that's linked in staff for Sunday meetings?
That on the pinned message that I just clicked on because I just reset my password and tried to log in, and it just instantly kicks me to that.
Empower channeling has not been updated. It still does 1d6 additional.
Try the one in the stuff for Sunday meetings. That one seems to work. I also now have to update or edit the meeting because it does give it the link.
Yeah, Neb, that's glorious weapon. That's not empowered.
That is empower channeling. It's part of glorious. It's part of empower channeling.
You want to listen to the glorious weapon part of it, though.
Yeah, because that's the only one that needs to be
Okay,
nerfed.
so number one is because the onboarding goes through a lot of new concepts which I should really get codified into a staff primer. I don't think pausing the equipment guide will speed that up, because all of the apps are being trained now. What I mean by onboarding is they don't get started until I know I can actually get them through the training process and monitor them so they're not just waiting in actual training limbo. But with my availability heavily affected by IRL, that usually doesn't crop up until slightly lighter periods, or when I can set aside time for training. Bringing in more people to train won't solve it unless there's documentation for how to train, which is another thing I need to get the time to actually sit down and write like the GM primer. Numerically, aspirants aren't unmanageable.
Well, I think if that's the case, your focus in terms of Living
Read
World
chat.
should definitely be focused towards getting that training document done so other people can join and help you for training staff. In terms of Dungeon Masters, we're golden. Training Dungeon Masters, we already have the documents for that. We don't need any new documents. Don't worry about training DMs. Focus on training staff. But
Yeah, those. Yeah, that hasn't changed in forever because you don't have to change half of it. Like, yeah, we have to change some wording here and there. It'll be like, hey, hey, if you're interested, choose this region, blah blah blah. But like, training DMs doesn't really change its Verum because like, it's kind of all the same.
yeah,
Write a mission, run a
Yeah,
mission, show that you know how to do that.
yeah,
There you
like
go.
it's surprisingly really simple to do it. It's just like we don't have to change like certain things to it to amend past the Verum stuff. We're just more uh lenient on time due to the current
EM training is pretty much
different.
do you know how to use a VTT and can you show you understand our rule set basics, and then the rest you pick up once you're in the team.
it's also, do you know how to run games? It's not just do you understand our rule sets, but it's the staff training orientation for Dungeon Masters, Game Masters. We already had the documentation for that. We've had that since the old server, so.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I think I
We're
made it with Manny and Thumbs. Oh god, that was like 3 years ago. Stares at wall.
we're slightly anal about the training now, but it's not. It's pretty much the same.
Yeah, there's some adjustments since way back when, but it's ultimately it's a, if you don't think they're ready yet, keep them in training instead of one and done. But
It's
there's more to it.
it's also why we tell a lot of trainers or people who are listening that like if you want more practice, just keep running training games. Like
Yep,
that's exactly how you're going to learn how you would play in D&D anywhere else.
which is true. All right. Um, Next on the docket, showing level gain signups to civilians. Please do. They should be able to see the channel. so they can, as researchers, as called out in that bullet point, can scheme for these missions and actually provide people their service. If someone can do that right quick, cool. Otherwise, I can probably do it later tonight.
I got it.
Excellent. Thank you.
Let's see.
In terms of Fritz's 17, we discussed that earlier up above at the beginning of this meeting, so. Go over faction limits and rules.
Anyway, so the other topic I missed, which was advertising. Yet
Yes.
I want to hit you up about that NERP. You've sent me the login details, but I think the assignee isn't available right now, or at least hasn't reached out about working on that further. You
Oh,
and I can work on drafts for messages to post together, get accounts signed up, and then just start advertising to expand the community a bit now that we've gotten several months of pretty smooth sailing and we want to grow somewhat. Even if we can't open up a full wave at the moment, we can certainly draw in interest and show more people our systems and world.
I missed the first part of what you just said. More specifically, I missed what you meant. And you are hot miking, Fritz.
Oh my god, I'm sorry. Yeah, okay.
It's all good.
Oh, get more things set up for advertising. So we can, grow and all that.
Yeah.
Which is, which again has kind of been our thing for a while, is like to get more players, we do need full-time DMs and stuff
Yes.
like that.
Um,
Like that is our kind of biggest hurdle here, is why we appreciate both. We really do. We do need more full-time DMs to grow.
in terms of signing this to people, since you've been pretty busy, haven't been able to look into it, I'll just ask Big Dream to do it. They're waiting on the sidelines until they have something to do, so.
So give them something to do.
Yeah. Like, here you go. He's already offered to go over things of this nature with me. Not like, hey, I'm going to advertise it for you. It's just he's asked that, hey, I'm still around. So just give me something to do, and I got it. So we'll sign this to them. They can give us those. We can start posting those out. Be all sorts of Gouda. But yeah. Scrolling back up, there's something I missed. Yeah, we should be able to filter the signups channel so only adventuring role players can sign up.
When you go and actually create an event, there are ways, I'm pretty sure, to lock roles to being able to sign up.
Yes.
It's just aggravating and annoying to get
I can see if
through.
I can change that to be a default option where only adventurers can be option, unless you change the default. So, but I'll have to tinker with the coding there in a bit in the bot testing
Yeah,
that we have.
I think the best option would be it locks adventurers. It locks it to adventurers as default, but one of the questions it asks is if there is a civilian slot available.
Mm-hmm.
Because then selecting yes gives it like unlocks it for civilians. That's probably the absolute easiest for usage wise, not
Yeah.
necessarily for actual coding.
I mean, we can always have it set up to replace second option where it's like disagree, because like, why are you hitting the button to disagree? Like, what's the point?
That's also an option.
All right. In terms of upkeep, that is something we want to discuss. I know last meeting that we had, we were wanting to drop an upkeep in 2 weeks from then, but then we didn't have a meeting the week following because I was in Vegas. Which means no one posted, I don't believe, a hey, heads up, we're doing upkeep soon. So I was like, we'll just do it from 1 to 2 weeks from now. So there should be an upkeep drop. Just in patch notes, let people know that hey, there's going to be an upkeep drop. If you think we can do it in next week, not this Sunday, but the next Sunday, because this is still technically a midweek conversation. Cool. Otherwise, we can do it the week after. So either we're dropping it the 3rd or the 10th.
I think upkeeps can be separate from DTD drops.
100%.
Just because otherwise it's a very, very short one that we had recently.
Yeah. So this is not a time regression, this is just an upkeep.
I think we should wait 2 months to drop the upkeep. Insert joke about taxes here. This is a joke,
Yeah.
specifically.
Speaking of upkeep and downtime, though, and time regressions, one of the things that has been discussed and has been noted down has been the way we do downtime and upkeep. I think if we go along with the guaranteed every X days this is going to happen, regardless of time regression, that will be better feeling for the players.
Downtime or upkeep, or both?
Both. Why is it untenable? Because we tend to drop downtime in like every month or so anyways.
I will say that downtime, as of this current moment, because there are downtime submissions that are backlogged, it may just exuberate that problem.
It will.
So I think if we do want to do it, and I'm not against it, in totality at least, we should probably wait until things are more automated than they are. And then we can more easily make the downtime specifically on a more regular schedule. I see no reason why the upkeep would need to not be on a regular schedule, though. That would just make everything easier on everyone involved. Upkeep is easy, downtime not so much at the moment.
Yeah.
Well, so it like the thing is, it's not a bad idea, but like it's being said, let's get the the stuff set up for it and then do that, be, because that is the plan. It's a good plan, just not one that's feasible at the moment given our backlog.
Mm-hmm.
And then once the automation and backlog, or at least a good portion of the backlog is taken care of, like we don't have to make sure it's all good. We just have to get a good portion of it out of the way, and then do that.
Yeah.
So we can do it at a later date, like how we're doing the travel time,
Mm-hmm.
or for a free travel test.
Yeah.
Which would then when we have a good idea of what we want to do, we can then fully push down and be like, yeah, we did it. There you go.
Well, I think that goes into the training thing, which is why I posted you in
Yeah.
training channel.
Yeah.
You need to get me with the downtime people so I can teach them how to do these things, because a lot of them are not. A lot of the questions I've been seeing in downtime is like, how do I do this? I don't want to touch this because I don't know how to do it. So we just
Oh,
need to
right, that
teach them how to
reminds
do
me.
downtime.
Probably for next meeting, I'm going to have a proposal for a nerf to sowing rumors and
Mm,
bribery and stuff, because as of this current moment, you can kind of just dump a fuck ton of days into it and guarantee that it's going to work.
fair.
So
Yeah, I noticed
I
that
need to
with researching
actually.
lore, so I added in the rules that existed but were not public facing to the listing there. So I think that's an easy clap for us.
Yeah, I'm probably going to crunch some numbers and
Mm-hmm.
see what feels better. Just because a DC 30 for someone who has a +0, you shouldn't be able to just dump 20 days into something and then just auto pass it.
Fair, fair.
So I'll crunch numbers probably later today, tomorrow,
Yeah.
this week, something like that. Just an
Anyways,
FYI.
I think in terms of downtime, uh, when we do get the structure to make that a consistent thing rather than based upon time progression, it's something we should do. For upkeep, that one's an easy clap. I think we can do that one every quarter,
So every 3 months.
every 3 months.
To be clear, NERP, I had a few questions about upkeep.
Shoot. Yeah, once the equipment guide's updated, which the one that we're focusing on right now is the crafting guide, which has enchantments and how to make them. Once that one's released, I feel like people are going to have very little issues understanding crafting and magical item crafting and whatnot.
Yes, but Pi, you didn't have to get a 3-page document to make your item.
True, but still,
Which is fair.
I'm still kind of salty that I got told, yeah, you're not allowed to do that, you're not allowed to do that, you're not allowed to do that, and you're not allowed to do that, and then all of those things ended up fucking backlogged. I'm so fucking salty about it.
Well, to be fair, making magic items the M side is very easy.
Oh yeah.
It just any other side.
Yeah, player items not so much.
Player items, that fucking sucks. Downtime wise, pricing them, hell, even just wanting to know the time to craft them and stuff, complexity costs.
So for upkeep, how long does that last precisely? The first one we tested was basically a time period long process wherein people had that entire period to pay all their stuff out or figure out what they were going to do. That's why I assumed it was going to be associated with a TP, since that gives a clear end date for when you have to complete the upkeep or be considered delinquent by staff. Since
I
we're
think
detaching it,
not
do
done.
you have set period of time in mind for how long the upkeep occurs?
Every 3 months.
Because like even 1 week for people to get their submissions in is going to be rough when we're dealing with 100 plus players and staff have to review their calcs. It's essentially a downtime submission for everyone, except with upkeep calcs.
So what Legacy is asking, Nerp, is not how long between each upkeep phase, but how long during the upkeep phase do people have to do what is required of them during that upkeep phase. So things like handling debt, determining their quality of living, stuff like that.
The entire 3 months.
Okay.
They have
Easy
until
peasy.
the next drop to pay it off.
Works a foamy. That explains a lot.
Well, I mean, that's kind of how like taxes work too. Like you kind of want to get your shit in before the deadline.
As
So,
much as we want to avoid attributing
well,
upkeep to taxes.
yeah, but like that is honestly the best way to explain it. As much as people don't like that because taxes fucking suck,
Mm.
like that's the best way to explain it.
I'll look into a civilian or citizen as a class that can't be multiclassed into when I'm doing the rework as a potential option, but we'll see
The
if we
lack
can
of
finagle it.
multi-classing is really something that depends on what the class actually gives, and since
Yeah.
it's
Wait,
not
there's
quite
other
done yet.
stuff that needs to be defined too now that I think about it. How do people pick their lifestyle? Do they have to do this within the first week of an upkeep?
Yes.
Yeah, and then that lifestyle is what they gain the benefits of over that upkeep. So they gain the benefits of it at the next upkeep. It's
Um,
basically at the start of the upkeep you determine how you're living, and
mhm.
then you gain the benefits of how you lived for the next upkeep, which is when you determine how you're living for the rest of it, or for the next one rather.
Yep. And the character sheets do have a what lifestyle you're living with. So when we do eventually get the tech running for this, they let you just have to click a button and it'll do everything for them.
Yeah. They already have a section on it where you determine what your lifestyle is.
And
Which
what's
I
the
think
period of time for picking their lifestyle? They can't switch mid upkeep, right?
correct. Once they make the post that they are paying X amount of gold for the lifestyle choice that they're making, they're locked in.
Hmm.
Obviously, the DDT people are going to check
Yeah.
it and be like,
Yeah, the
hey, you can't do this because you didn't do this. But that's a check more than it is them choosing.
yeah.
Wait, do you pay ahead of time or you pay before time?
You
And the
pay.
benefits only tick in next upkeep period, right?
Yes. So basically, you're paying your rent at the beginning of the month, and then at the end of the month, when you have to pay your next rent, you gain the benefits of the rent you already paid for because you have now lived through it. Does that make sense?
Oh my
I'm not
god, it
making it.
really is rent. The first upkeep is a security deposit / the first month last month.
Yeah. Yeah.
Honestly, I think the rent analogy is probably better than taxes. People will probably like that better.
Guys, my landlord wants me to pay extra this month. What the fuck?
I'm sorry, Sithams. You're being evicted by order of Sir Nerp the Feather Knight. He needs to tear down your house to make more stables for his chickens.
I do need more chickens.
You do not need that many chickens, bro. Please, man. We want just to live.
There's plenty of room in the tents for Sithams. That's why adventures have a tent. God.
He just has to live with the serfs this
All
month. It's
right.
fine.
Let's see here. Back to the factions, limits, and rules, though. I've always intended there to be people able to join multiple factions. I know this is something that we've been discussing since before we even launched. We are running a little low on time, though, so this is something I think we can go over Sunday. But as a preface for that bigger meeting, I've always been in the intention, I've always been in the mindset that people can join multiple factions. Some factions might make it so they can't. So, like if you're soulbound to one, you can't soulbound to another. Some might make it so you can't because hey, that faction hates that faction. You can't be a part of the Church of Nepalis and be part of the Vampire Coven.
Why not?
Because they hate each other.
Yeah, and
And
the
they're
problem is the
actively
Church of
trying to
Nepalis is
kill
probably
each
gonna
other.
do a Dawnguard thing where they say like, hey, look, you're a vampire, turn to dust.
But enemies to lover, dude.
And essentially, there'll be ways to prevent people from being able to join multiple factions in this
Neb,
regard. But
you live outside of Typhon's Light.
Yeah, I do. I do, yeah. And
Heretic.
All
But
right,
anyway,
step here into Aniras. We're all inviting here.
yeah, and in
The-
terms of 18 for Laddersmith's posting there, clarify rules and skill features that duplicate. Generally, if it's a skill, you get to replace that skill with a new one. If it's a tool, replace that skill with a new tool, or tool with a new tool. For skill, you can also just replace the skill with a tool, or vehicle proficiency, instrument, whatever, game set. I use tool pretty heavily as just anything that's not a skill that would be an ability check. That's not spellcasting ability. Basically, if it's a tool, game implement, vehicle, instrument, it's under that category in my mind. But I need a terminology that is used other than that because tools is used for crafting tools or harvesting tools. So, but on World Anvil, that's what I refer to. If it says you can gain proficiency with a skill or a tool, it can be anything of those four categories. I just need a new word for it. In terms of multiple features such as multiple instances of tough, doesn't stack. You cannot get tough twice. If it's something that functions the same way as tough, in terms of like the HP bonus, but it's not tough, it will stack. So you could get 2 instances of plus 2 HP per hit dice. Unless the bonuses say you gain a plus 2 enhancement bonus to HP per hit dice. And then the other one says you gain a plus 2 enhancement bonus to HP per hit dice. In which case, enhancement bonuses don't stack.
So just to clarify, we want the upkeep period in 2 weeks. So starting on the 3rd of March.
Yes.
Okay, so June, September, December. Basically, the 3rd of those months.
Let's see here. February, March to June, and then June to September. Yeah, those months.
Okay, so we should probably just add it to patch notes that it's going to be the probably the first Sunday of each of those months, just so there's less confusion.
Definitely.
The only downside I'm thinking, no, I can't think of anything that's actually. Are there any like holidays that are on the first Sunday of any of those? Can't think of it.
When's Easter again?
Easter is in April or May.
It's
Easter's on one of those Sundays.
it's the first it's the first Sunday of April.
Yeah, so that's not impacted.
Structure upkeep is just an additional cost to your upkeep. So if you normally would only pay like 15 gold in the upkeep period, you now have to pay whatever your structure upkeep is as well at that point in time to gain the benefit. If you don't pay it, the structures don't work for that period. I don't think this is a big work in progress. I think this is just people haven't used it heavily enough to be used to these rules. Because the upkeep system itself is listed on World Anvil. It's fully written out on the rule sets that we need for it. The only change we're doing right now is instead of saying this is whenever we feel like it, this is every 3 months. Yeah, the first Sunday of every 3 months.
Yeah, just because it makes it easier for people to remember rather than just it's the first Sunday. It's the
Yeah.
same day every 3 months.
Indeed.
Not randomly on a Friday or a Wednesday or a Monday now. The fuck you mean no, Legacy? That's not how that works. When was the last time that you had something to drink?
Yeah, I'll announce it in announcements.
You're welcome.
Anyways, good stuff. Anything anyone else would like to bring up before I close out the meeting? Yes, I went over that at the beginning. I went over the 4 things you posted at the beginning. We then found out that the link that's pinned elsewhere doesn't work anymore, so we need to get those pinned links replaced with the one that you have in stuff for Sunday meetings, because that one does work.
This.
But yeah, for now, until we get those links repinned, just look at stuff for Sunday meetings. Very top of that channel is the link for the Trello. All right, and then for your thing that you just posted, Neb. Oh wow, I haven't read this since December 24th.
Hot minute.
Uh-huh. I mean, I
Big
did read through
ol'
some of
hot.
it. All right. What part of this that you're wanting to discuss?
The damage dice, it's 1d6 and very big range for a minute.
All right.
That's kind of powerful.
That's pretty powerful. The big intention for it is making it magical and making it bypass DR from material.
Mhm.
So I think what we could do is remove the damage bonus, and then
Yeah.
either remove the damage bonus or make it just like a +1 to damage.
Yeah, a flat number is probably going to be better overall.
It also doesn't get critical boosted, so a flat number would be better regardless.
It's just going to be whether we want to keep it or not. If we keep it, make it a flat number. If we don't want it, then just
Yeah.
into the void.
But a lot of people don't tend to prepare multiple weapons for situations where, like, oh, I need to have a cold iron, I need to have a silver, I need to have an adamantine, I need to have XYZ.
Oh, they'll learn.
They'll learn, but this particular feature is for people who don't do that or people who don't have weapon blanches, which are ways to get around the costly, I need a specific weapon to do this.
And then I'm just sitting here. I will punch you to death. At a
Yes.
certain level, they're magical and ignore your resistances.
Mm-hmm.
Die. I don't remember.
Actually, I'm immune now.
No. Get stunned, idiot.
What?
Yeah. If you're wanting to join the World Anvil team, just let me know. Alpha, I can get you on there. But we can make that once per turn too.
I don't think I actually want to join it. I just want it changed because
Gotcha.
that ability, I can see it going upward if there's a way to like stack grapples or stuff like that
Fair
to
enough.
an absurd degree. But more importantly, its current power is entirely based on a specific DM ruling, even though we had this discussion before. That ruling in that channel of if you can knock a creature prone changes a fundamental of D&D, and if a DM did not read that one specific mention, then that changes it.
Yeah. So for Spiritual Fist, we can make it once per turn. I also need to clarify what the terminology in there is for, because there has been confusion in that regard. But just post, if you haven't already, in the World Anvil feedback channel, just so we know it needs to be done.
Yep. Sky wrote it out well.
Cool. All right. Anything anyone else would like to discuss to bring up?
Do you want to talk about style feats?
I feel like that's a very long discussion. Probably best for
I think
Sunday.
we should save any discussion about style feat changes for later, not the
I
end of this meeting.
I agree.
Yeah, I think just drop the D6 from Glorious Weapon. And if people stop taking it, then we can probably bring the damage bonus back, but
I'll
I
change
think it's
it
powerful as is.
Yeah. Honestly, also most people are probably taking it for the other. Well, at least me.
Mhm.
I don't know if anyone else took empowered channeling yet.
Alright.
Let's see.
Yeah, I keep meaning to make Permafrost as a cantrip. I just like be busy, man. If someone wants to make a uh, a cantrip for Permafrost, it's basically like poison spray. Feel free.
I think that's being worked on by Ladder on balancing.
Nice, because I know it was removed from the cleric thing as a patch note, but the spell is intended to exist. Just the version that people can find is like 5th level.
Would you
So
would you rather it be like poison spray but slow, or poison spray but just like frostbite or ray of frost?
it should be a medium damage slowing effect,
Okay, so ray of frost. Okay,
close range. Yeah, basically
and
like
then
the frost damages shocking grasp feature. Because the
do
intention
you
is every damage type should eventually
Get
have a
shocking
cantrip
grasp.
that has both a melee and ranged version. So if you want to play a cold wizard as an example, you can do that. If you want to play a wizard who focuses on poison, you can do that. Just because the current system really favors fire damage and lightning. And that's it. So
Which is funny because Wizard of the Coast keeps making more fire spells and then just makes monsters that are either resistant or immune to
Yeah,
it.
they.
They're
It's
leaning into the arsonists.
it's like they. I feel like the monster design, like their monster design and their spell design, are two completely separate teams that don't talk to each other.
what do you mean by how do I make patch note thingy for the world anvil updates? Like
I don't know how to embed it and stuff.
how the drop happens, like remove nonsense pearl permafrost main clerics, then here's a
Yeah.
link. So when you're in the page, like on down a page that you're editing, if you go to advanced options on the right hand side, and then you have like a little text box there, you can click in the text box to type what you want to have written. So remove nonsense spell. And then there's the 3 little square boxes. The one in the middle, I believe, might be the one on the right. If you hover over it, it'll tell you what it says, and it says just
Oh,
publish to world. Yeah, that's the one you want to click.
notification message optional, and then I click the update Discord.
Yep, update Discord.
Okay.
Yeah.
Glorious
And in
weapon.
terms of looking at potentially blending DTD usage into some events, what are your thoughts on that? If you're wanting to give people XP ticks for doing these actions in an RP event, feel free. If they're essentially doing this action in your event, you can do so, yeah. I mean, RP events being able to give XP is, or was, the intention for the main way that civilians were able to gain XP outside of downtime. But we haven't really had an RP event team besides like 1 or 2 people, and then like the staff, the region heads who are running RP events in the region. So if you want to go for it, go for it.
We have more RP people signing up, so
It's true. Hopefully that helps.
we also have someone from the who is very good at RP signing up.
Oh, that reminds me. A while back, I was messaged by someone, Kana, I believe, who was
Yes,
offering to help.
they already applied it. It's
Cool.
already applied
Okay.
there.
I haven't messaged them back.
I
I still have
mean,
their
I
DM
can,
unmarked. I messaged them initially. I just haven't replied to their
mhm.
most recent post to me. But if they're signing up, excellent.
They're yes, they're set up.
Cool.
They're on the list.
Cool. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no. If you're doing
We don't have
events, if you're doing
had volunteers.
encounters, if you're doing anything that really, if it's just an RP, but you're doing something that would be worth XP, whether it's like a downtime action that they're effectively doing, whether like fighting creatures in like a combat situation or like avoiding people by like stealth situations or diplomatizing people, feel free to give XP based upon the downtime tick system or even just, hey, have +1 XP per the encounter XP system that we have on the mission document, which I believe ranges from 0 to 3 based on how difficult the encounter was. So if you want to just give like full XP, that is a good guideline for it. All right. Which also goes into if it's like a higher tier. So if they're avoiding like a dragon encounter, you might give them instead of 3, you might give them 6 because it's breaking their tier.
That wonderful, absolutely fantastic moment where a group of level 3s spend 4 days running from an adult red dragon who they accidentally pissed off.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely don't give it for just simple
Whoa,
things like
whoa, whoa!
everyday stuff. But
Accidentally, quote unquote, he says, "Fucking." We all know they pissed it off for
if
full
they've
reason.
earned it, then give them the XP that they earn. Yeah.
They
Outside of that,
escaped with
though,
Letty in the
anything
sand.
anyone else would like to bring up to discuss? I'm just waiting for people to type real quick. What Fritz said, which goes to my face as well because I need to post what I'm doing.
How's that for a frostbite cantrip?
Or it's
It's melee spell
permafrost.
attack with a range of 10 feet. Oh, it's permafrost?
Yeah, it's permafrost.
Yeah,
Oops.
Permafrost is the name. But other than that, yeah, it looks good.
Melee spell attack range of 10 feet, reduces movement speed by 10 on hit. Does a d8 so that it, yeah.
Copy.
It could be a d10, but
Yeah, I mean,
I
eventually,
didn't want to overshadow Primal Savagery, I guess.
that's fair. I do intend to have a feat for each damage type, which will let you do weird wibbly wobbly stuff with them, but that's for future stuff. So the lower damage won't matter too much.
I can add that in the World Album update if that's
Oh yeah,
cool
definitely.
with that.
That's all good. All right. Cool. Anything anyone else like to discuss to bring up as I still see people typing?
I believe that's it.
Cool. I was reading through the rest of the Nomad Council
Yeah.
chat. All right, good stuff. Appreciate everyone showing up, all the help you've been providing, all that and more. Um, gonna drop the recording here and talk to you guys on Sunday, most likely, unless something else pops up that requires my attention. But, blah, blah, blah.